We are live now. Okay, so we are streaming live on Facebook. So in case you are watching on Facebook, please do mute your Facebook page so that it doesn't reflect here. Okay. Just a second. Okay, yeah. So hello everyone and welcome to our next interactive discussion. We've been discussing for the past few weeks the field of STEM. And within the period, we've looked at computer science, we've looked at materials engineering, mechanical engineering, and also structural engineering. And we've been exposed to what we need to do, the opportunities in the field, the challenges, and also heard about the experiences from the various experts. I'm optimistic that you've learned a lot, and today's section is going to be another wonderful one. So today we are doing something a bit different than what we've done for the past few weeks. We want to look at the other side of having a STEM degree. Okay, so we want to know, how do we stay relevant in the field? We also want to know how do we enjoy our chosen field of expertise? And more importantly, how do we stay comfortable or flexible in the discipline? So for our young people out there and everyone who is joining us on Zoom and watching on Facebook, do not fret because I have Dr. Danielle Twum who is ready to sort you out. Doc, nice to have you today.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited about this.
Yeah, so let's do a little bit of introduction. Okay, I'm sure people are wondering, who do we have today on our discussion? So could you please introduce yourself for us?
Sure. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Dr. Danielle Twum. I am from Ghana, West Africa. I have a PhD in cancer immunology after studying at Vassar College for a degree in biology. I focused in marine biology. I worked for about a year and a half in the biotech startup world as a field application scientist using magnetic levitation to sort cells. And I now currently work as a translational science liaison for a company that does precision medicine in oncology. So that's a short SparkNotes version of who I am.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think let me ask this for the younger version of yourself, like maybe 7 to 10 years back, what inspired your journey, doing in the field of immunology? And also, would you have advised yourself then, to take that particular career when maybe you could have been on Broadway Street being a star?
So 7 to 10 years ago, I was just about to start graduate school. So that's interesting that you say that. I did not stumble into immunology. Well, it's a weird story. I was studying marine biology. I was studying how increasing temperatures of the ocean is causing coral bleaching in corals. And one of the hypotheses back then was that it was an immune response. However, it turned out that, that got me into the immune system. Because I went to college with the intent of becoming a medical doctor. I'm sure all the Ghanaians on here understand, in Ghana, if you have a science degree, if you do science in SS, you have to become a medical doctor or something along those lines. And so I went to college with the intent of becoming a medical doctor, but I took one class, and that one class changed my entire trajectory. It introduced me to the world of research. And when I thought I was going to do I was going to look for a career in marine biology because I really enjoyed that, my undergraduate advisor advised me to do research somewhere else, try something else, make sure you actually like research as a whole instead of just marine research. And so she asked me, what do I like? And I said, well, I've always been curious about cancer because I had lost an uncle when I was very young to cancer. And so I did an undergraduate summer research experience at Roswell Park Cancer Institute, where I was studying the expression of tumor-associated antigens in renal cancer, like cancer of the kidney. And that was where I ended up, I went there with one question, what is cancer? I left there with more questions. And so I was like, well, might as well go get a PhD in it if I'm going to try and understand what is going on. So would I have told my younger self to pursue immunology? Probably, because she was very interested in it. And, I'm very okay with that, because there is a fallacy that you have X amount of years in your life to be successful. And I completely reject that fallacy, because you have your entire life to try so many things and to be successful in so many different things. So did it take me 6.5 years to realize I really like understanding cancer? Yes. Was it a waste of time? Absolutely not. So definitely would have told her to keep going.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Just a follow-up there.
Yeah.
For some of us, especially those of us in the medical field, we are
Yeah.
quite familiar with a clinical immunologist. So when you come to a researcher in the field of immunology, can you enlighten us a bit?
Yeah, so in immunology, for graduate school, I went in and I was admitted into the immunology track at Roswell Park Cancer Institute. However, you had to, it varies depending on the school, but I rotated in 3 different labs that were studying 3 different subjects. And the lab I eventually stayed with and did my thesis work with, we were studying the innate immune response in cancer. So if you don't know anything about the immune system, there's 2 arms of the immune system. There's the innate and the adaptive immune response. And so we were studying the innate immune response and how different cellular populations, contribute to that. And so my particular project was looking at the manipulation of transcription factors in a particular cell type, macrophages, which have been shown to play a huge role in cancer growth and its spread and its metastasis. And so for my work, for for research in general, I was mouse modeling. I used mice a lot. I used a lot of cell lines. I was also trying to understand the molecular underpinnings of macrophage transcriptional behavior. So of course I was using cell lines. And so Roswell Park is a very translational research heavy institute. And so whatever you're doing, the intent is to be able to take it to the bench side. It's benchtop to bedside, benchtop to bedside. And so whatever research we're doing, the intent was it's going to turn into a cure for a patient at some point. But of course, it's basic research. So you just have to be aware of that. Clinical immunology research is a little different, I believe, where you're usually working with patients, you're usually working with patient data. I was working with mice. And so that's more basic research, yeah.
Thank you very much. And due to the season we find ourselves in, with this global pandemic, COVID here and there, I think we can take a bit of education, because I know someone said some time ago on a TED talk that we have guardian of our galaxy. So how do we take care of our guardians in this COVID era? How do we, stay healthy? How do we take care of ourselves? How do we have a strong immune system, to fight this virus?
Yeah, so there's so many ways of shoring up your immune system, especially against viruses. The best way is to not get the virus. So wear a mask. Wear a mask wherever you go. If you have access to water and soap, wash your hands as much as you can after interacting with others. I'm trying to avoid crowded places and, eat your fruits and vegetables. If you can work out and you have access to working out, you should definitely work out, because working out boosts your endorphins. And there's so much research about how stress actually can negatively impact your immune system. So if you can find ways to relax, find ways to relax, whether you're reading, whether you're going for a walk, being in touch with your friends. Then of course, I said fruits and vegetables. The thing about your immune system is you can't just like fix it. It's a culmination of your habits up until this point. So now that we've all slowed down and we have the chance to hopefully reset everything, try and relax, pick up healthy habits, wear a mask, don't go into crowded places, and just try and relax as much as possible. So that's my advice for that. Don't get the virus.
Yeah, thank you very much. To those of us listening, this is the centerpiece. Don't get the virus, and try to stay very, very safe. Introducing yourself, I don't remember you mentioned being at Wesley Girls, but I think someone whispered that our Wesley Girls, our host was the entertainment prefect. And I was quite curious, I was quite curious. How did studying, in Wesley kind of affect you personally in terms of your character, your personality? How did it influence you growing up in that environment? Yeah.
Yeah, great research. How did you find that out? That's so creepy. But yeah, going to Gehe it was a dream come true for my JSS self. And Gehe it's a pressure cooker. There's all of the things you've heard are true. It is a pressure cooker, but it's a good pressure cooker, because if you put food in a pressure cooker, it comes out tasting really good. So, that's how I would describe Gehe. Definitely learned a lot of, being tenacious, being, not settling for less. That's definitely something I picked up from being at Wesley Girls. And I also picked up a phenomenal support of girls. I'm still in touch with most of my classmates that I was very close to. We're still in touch. We're still supporting each other as we go from, in our professional development. And yeah, being an entertainment prefect, it was wild because I did not even know what entertainment prefects did. I wanted to be a library prefect, but somehow the teachers thought being an entertainment prefect was cool, which was nice because it allowed me to have to express a creative side that I didn't think I had. So it gave me a chance to unearth something about myself that I didn't know, which I'm still using now, especially in STEM or STEAM, actually, because it really irks me that people think science is boring and colorless and all of that. How is science boring? The sky is blue. Sunsets and sunrises are full of so many different colors. I mean, flowers, animals, the ocean. How is science not colorful? And so, science is definitely a symphony of colors and art. And to me, I think that's what should make everyone excited about going into science, because you get to express both your artistic side. Even if you don't have one, you'll find that you see art in science, and that's what makes science even more exciting. So thanks, Gehe.
Yeah, thank you very much. I've always been curious about the magic of Wegehe, because I also have some quite interesting friends who schooled in
You call them
Gehe.
interesting.
So I don't know, I'm quite curious about it. Guys, if you are joining us, for the past few minutes, we've tried to know our host and try to know about her field of expertise. What makes her happy, and also how she's using social media as a tool for job satisfaction and development. So if you have any question, please do drop them in the comment box on Facebook. If you are here with us on Zoom, also just give me a wave and I'll allow you to ask your question. So Doc, please, now let's start getting comfortable in our field of expertise. And I want to ask this question. How should people view or appreciate their career in STEM compared to their colleagues in the arts and social sciences? For example, most people see those in arts and the social sciences are more lively people. And for us in STEM or in the science domain, we are much more reserved, quiet, and uh, in quotes, just look like the Einstein, you know. How should we appreciate our field?
That is a great question. It annoys me to high heaven that people think that you have to look Einsteinish to be a scientist. One of my favorite hashtags to follow on social media is hashtag this is what a scientist looks like, because scientists come in so many different forms. I mean, humans come in so many different forms. So why would you think that just because you're studying science, you should be boring? You should not like fashion. You should not like art. I mean, I just went on a rant about how science is art. And so I think people in STEM need to bring their authentic self to the table, because if you actually do that, you can create better science. I think, to me, the best scientists I know are able to strike a balance between being very serious and also enjoying their work. And in enjoying their work, it's like, as I said, science is colorful. Even cells talking to themselves using cytokines is exciting, because that is an exchange of information. I think it's a horrible misconception, and you should not think that you have to be serious to do science. Science is fun. It's, yes, sometimes we deal with serious issues like cancer and all these debilitating diseases, but in all we're trying to do is understand what nature has given us. And why isn't that exciting to you? Why should you think that you have to be very serious to be taken seriously? Those people who are being serious, I don't think they're enjoying their work, honestly. If you're loving science, if you're loving understanding it, it should give you joy. You should be able to be lively about it. So that's my 2 cents. But I
Yeah,
also I love colorful anything, so I might be biased.
yeah. Thank you very much for breaking the myth. And as we are being told, guys, let's go out, let's go to theaters, let's go on vacations, let's have time with family. Let's enjoy the field much more. Let's be innovative. And this brings me to my next question. In 2019, I think during the Christmas period, you were able to reach out to grad students who were working, should I say, in the empty laboratories. And I think it was very impressive, and it was very touching. So the question here is, what motivated the idea to, exercise that little campaign, and how impactful was it?
Why were you going through my Twitter feed?
No, actually, people, those of us in STEM, many a times people just see us as always serious people. They tend not to appreciate the social aspect of our lives, how we get to interact with others, how we, even how everything we do in our daily routines reflect in our field of expertise. So we just want people to kind of appreciate, the mere fact you are doing science, or you're in engineering, or you're a mathematician, does not mean that you have a one-way kind of life. So yeah.
Great. I mean, great research. I'm very impressed by that. So I mean, I've been in graduate school before. I know how it is to be alone, especially on Christmas Day and even during the Christmas season, because sometimes just because it's Christmas doesn't mean your experiments are going to stop. I mean, most of some experiments are months in the planning, and so why should you stop it just because it's Christmas? And if you're also trying to graduate, you go into this box, you go into like you zen, you're locked in, and so it's hard to tear yourself away. And when I was in graduate school, I had a lot of help from my friends and family who would randomly buy me meals if they knew I was having a really tough time. And so I, I had started a new job. And so I did have some, I like to call it play money, that I could, buy meals for people. Because there's the power. I mean, maybe it's the Ghanaian in me. You just want to feed everybody to make them happy. But yeah, I ended up I ended up feeding a couple of graduate students, and what I really loved was that a lot of other PIs, principal investigators, a lot of people who were also had the ability to give also ended up picking it up, and a lot of graduate students in the United States and also in Canada, which was actually quite interesting,
Wow.
ended up getting fed, and that made my Christmas. I was like, Jesus must be happy.
I don't know if I can say hallelujah to that.
Check with Jesus first.
Yeah. So guys, we are trying to learn how we can be comfortable in our field of STEM. And I think I should share an experience here, for example. Just some few, I think last semester, we were studying blood pattern analysis. And to my surprise, things that we learned in school far back in JHS and SHS, like calculating the angle of a triangle, or using trigonometries, all those tidbits were reflecting on how we could use that particular aspect to kind of solve a crime. So this brings to my next question. Are there moments whereby you also relive those experiences and you feel that whatever we learned back, wasn't a waste of time in a line of work?
So that's a great question. I don't think I can remember a specific thing, but what I can remember is how I was very fortunate that I had teachers who taught me how to learn, and that has definitely come in handy. It doesn't matter where I'm going. Even right now, my current job, I'm still training for it, and it's a steep learning curve. It's a whole different world, and even though it is stressful, I'm calling upon all the learning techniques that I picked up in JHS and SHS to definitely use it now, because I'm just like, all of this information is a lot, but there were all these tips and tricks, mnemonic devices, just basic science that I've definitely used. So it's school, to me, school is never a waste of time. Somebody might call me a nerd for that, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. But school is not just for knowledge acquisition. You also pick up social cues. You also pick up a lot of social lessons that together make you a wholesome person, right? You don't just go through the world spouting facts. You might be a fantastic scientist, but if you can't talk to other people about your work, if you can't teach other people your work, then what's the point, right? No one wants to even be around you. And so people need to understand that being a scientist is holistic, and you pick up lessons along the way that, it's like somebody who has a piece of marble and just chipping it away. All the little things you learn help mold you into who you are, and you have to stay moldable. Otherwise you will become very boring and they'll put you in a museum. You don't want to be that person. You want to be the person who is constantly evolving, is constantly staying, keeping their ear to the ground, learning new things. So yeah, school's not a waste of time, and everything you're learning is definitely going to come in hand, for sure.
Yeah, I think a friend asked a question about the social lessons which you've mentioned, and I think I just want to read it before we continue. She says that, do you think such a lifestyle, that is having a balance between social interactions and academic progress, should be encouraged among scientists both in the field and academia? And also, where should the balance be such that we'll be able to fight stress, psychological trauma, and the feeling to quit, in academic progress?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a solid question. So I'm a big believer in mental health and therapy. I think if I had a lot of money, I would make an endowment fund to, the minute you start graduate school or the minute you start college, you would have access to a therapist you're very comfortable with and be able to talk about that, talk about whatever you're going through. I also believe in speaking up and leaving a toxic environment. If you speak up and the environment doesn't change, definitely leave it. I had a friend in graduate school who was in a very toxic lab, but he was doing great work. And so he had to decide between Am I going to, do great work at the expense of my health at this point? Or am I just going to leave and, take the plunge, go try something else? And he ended up leaving. And the lab he ended up joining, he ended up publishing a phenomenal paper in a very, very, very high impact journal. Like, wow. He's the highest, out of all of us, he published in the highest impact journal from the entire graduating class. And what if he hadn't left that toxic lab? And he's in a much healthier place now. And so if it's too toxic, you definitely should leave. But also, if you're a scientist, you're also a creator. And you can't just be giving and giving and giving to your work. At some point, you will run on empty. And there's no way you can create from an empty well. What are you giving from an empty well? There's not air. Cool. What is air going to do? It's not going to do anything. So that's why, talking to your friends from different fields, I encourage people to find friends who don't do, if you're in STEM, find in science, research, find friends who don't do that. Most of my friends are economists and they don't speak my language at all. I don't speak their language at all, but it gives me a chance to learn something else, which gives me a different angle whenever I have to tackle a question. Because I'm like, well, if I was an economist, how would I solve this? And can I break it down to a more scientific, using the scientific method to do it? And so you definitely need to strike a balance. Schedule time off. Be intentional about it. Because if you don't, the world will not give you a chance to take a break. That's just not how the world works. But at some point, if you don't take care of your body will take care of you. You wake up one morning and you can't get out of bed. And you're like, I don't know why. Well, you've been going hard. What did you think was going to happen? We're not invincible. Please disabuse yourself of this notion. Just because we're young, we're not invincible. This body is all we have. So take care of it so it can give you the best version that you want it to do. So please schedule breaks, be intentional about it. And if you have, once things open up, if you can go to the theater, as you were suggesting, I love going to musicals. I love going to the museums. I like trying things that are outside my comfort zone because it gives you a chance to think and it gives you time away, which when you come back, you have fresh eyes to look at a question. So, yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Guys, as we've been told, we have to be very, very intentional and much more important, we need also to schedule time off. If you are watching on Facebook, you can drop your questions in the comment box and I'll read it to our host. If you are here also with us on Zoom, don't hesitate to give me a wave for you to ask your question. Now, Doc, I want us to look at ways we can be flexible in our career growth. I think for the past few minutes, we've looked at how having a strong mental fortitude, having a strong character, and also, more importantly, how to be innovative in ways to kind of enjoy that professional growth. Now, we want to learn how we can be very, very flexible. People, for example, just do a mathematics degree and they think everything they have to do now should only be restricted in the field of mathematics. Sometimes they fail to appreciate the link between mathematics and economics, even mathematics and genetics, bioinformatics, and other fields. So we just want to learn from you. So the first question I want to ask is, how do we stay relevant in our chosen field?
Yeah, so if I don't want to step on any toes, but no, I just don't want to, because the world has changed so much from when initial PhD careers were created, right? At first, people thought if you study math, you can only stick to math. If you study biology, you can only stick to biology and all of that. But the world has changed. And right now, a lot of careers are looking for transferable skills. It's cool if you know all about genetics. If you can rattle the Krebs cycle off the top of your head, good for you. But can you talk to a customer about it? Can you turn it into a product? Can you make a PowerPoint presentation that only requires one slide and you can't use any animations and still be able to drive home your point? If you're stuck in an elevator with the CEO of a company, Can you pitch your idea in under 3 minutes? Can you? That's how the world has become now. And so I need people to understand that you have so many transferable skills that you're picking up along the way. There is a website, I'm forgetting the website. I'm sure if you just Google transferable skills, there are so many websites that give you a list of transferable skills that you can put even on your resume, and that it can even help you realize what transferable skills you have, because you don't even know you have them until somebody points them out. And so I want to say that, in addition to going to academic conferences and, that helps you meet people in your field, read the news, read a journal that you're not used to, and then look at the bottom of the paper, in a paper, look at the bottom, see what these people studied. You'd be surprised. Some people study something else and are doing something else completely. And that's because they were able to leverage their transferable skills from one field to another. And so don't think that you're stuck in a box just because you're studying one thing. If you're in STEM, you're already out of the box, just because STEM is so huge. The world is your oyster. Heck, space, the entire universe is your oyster. So why do you think you're stuck? Definitely don't think that. If I'm going to even give very practical examples, if you go on LinkedIn and you're looking at jobs, they don't say, I want a biologist. They never say that. They say, I want a scientist. And then you go into the description and you find out they just don't want somebody who knows how to do bench work. They want someone who can talk. They want someone who can put together a presentation. They want someone who can be customer facing. And all those things come in hand. And you can start from the bench and become a CEO. And some CEOs don't even do bench work, but they have PhDs, right? So that's the thing. I need people to understand, if you're in STEM, your degree inherently is flexible. Your training is flexible. But we all get very scared thinking that, we have to stay comfortable. No. Step out of the box. There's no box.
There is no box. Guys, there is no box. So just to add to it, I think basically what I took from your opinion on this is that we should also explore, be doing CPDs, be watching webinars, read articles, and also we shouldn't hesitate to do short courses such that we move out of the box, which is very, very, very important. And also, I also want to ask, I think this is much more for those of us that are in graduate schools. For the purpose of creating exposure and opportunities, I want to find out how flexible can we be, for example, professionally and economically, which are two metrics people always look at. When they look at a particular field, they are quite interested also at the economic aspects, as much more also at what the professional aspect also brings. So as we choose our fields, how flexible can we be in that regard?
Yeah, so your paycheck is definitely important. People have bills to pay. You have families to take care of. Excuse me, if you're an immigrant like me, sometimes you have to send money back. And so that's where you have to do your due diligence in finding something that you're passionate about, that can also pay you well, if that matters to you. Of course, if you're going the pure academic route, then you're in, you're in for a long ride until you get full for professorship, which is where the salary increases significantly. And that's also okay, because even as a postdoctoral student, even as a graduate student, if your program, postdoctoral candidate, and as a graduate student, if your program allows it, you can be a consultant for a lot of things. There are so many consulting gigs out there. People just want an expert. And at some point in your graduate career, you become an expert at what you do. And so you can consult and even make money on the side if you're doing the academic route. But if you're not, and you're leaving, graduate school and going to become something else, I would say that when you're in graduate school, try and be as involved in a lot of programs that your graduate school puts on. So for me, when I was in graduate school, I was heavily involved in the high school summer research experience, because I am very, very passionate about influencing young children to be interested in STEM, especially young Black children who don't have enough role models who look like them. And so I wanted to, in my own way, change that narrative for those children and let them see that, listen, there are people who look like you who are getting these advanced degrees and who are trying to change the landscape so that it will be easier for you to, come and have a PhD. And so that, being involved in that, putting together curriculum, putting together after lab programs for them, I used those skills to get my next job in terms of like scientific communication, in terms of being a field application scientist, and now as a translational science liaison. So if it's possible, be involved in programs, because not only does it help you, but it also helps the senior leaderships in your schools to see who you are, and they can even become your sponsors and your champions who might be, singing your praises, and somebody will call you and say, hey, spoke to this person. They said they liked you. I have this job for you. Want to try it? There's so many people I know that has happened for. And so try and be as involved in your institute's programs as possible. If there are programs outside your institute that you can also be involved in, definitely do that because networking is so critical in the world right now. And especially if you're trying to, move fields, that definitely, networking is definitely a tool for flexibility. So if you're in graduate school and you're going the academic route, definitely find some consulting gigs for, secure money, economic security's sake. But if you're not, be involved in as many programs as possible. Volunteer, try something new, or even start your own thing. Hell, why not? And then, parlay off of that for your next career moves, for sure.
Yeah, thank you very much, Danielle. You've actually answered a question asked by Esther. So I'll just move to the next question. Yeah, you just used
I
it.
talk
So
too
I'll
much.
just move to the next question. Yeah. So now I want us to talk about young people. I want us to the girl child and also minority groups, which you've touched on a bit. But now I want to find out, how do we overcome the stigma, the limited opportunities, and the failures vis-a-vis staying head up in STEM? How should young people and disadvantaged groups, be able to overcome those limited opportunities?
Yeah. So the beauty of the way STEM and the world is going is that there are so many pioneers who have come before, I'm going to say me, and have come before us, who have gone through the ceiling and taken the cuts, right? And my people like me, we're also changing the landscape. We're shaking the table so that you can come and have a seat. And so I want you to know that there are people like me, there are people who came before me, who've gone through the ceiling and have taken the cuts for you. So now there is a huge hole for you to go through and blow the damn ceiling up, really. And most people like to say nasty things. I remember I was at a conference, I got an award. There were 3 awards for that conference. I got 1, which is really cool. I was at my poster. Somebody came and was just staring at my poster. Didn't ask me a question, didn't ask me anything. And I was like, oh, do you want me to explain my work to you? And he was like, oh, I just wanted to see who it was that won this award. And I was like, oh, and he goes, yeah, so it was you, huh? I was like, I don't know what you're trying to say. But when I hear comments like that, I always say that, oh, you're threatened by my best work. It's not me. It's a you thing. And that's what I want a lot of young girls and, people of color who are interested in STEM to understand, that if you bring your best self, most people will try and retaliate by saying something mean to you. But always remember, they're speaking from a place where they're threatened by what you're doing. So stand in the fact that you're doing your best, and the sky is really your limit. Of course, we're all trying to make available resources. We're all trying to make available role models for any young girl, any child of color who's interested, tap into this network. A lot of us are willing to help you. Applications, whether it's hearing about opportunities. There was a huge network of support that wants you to be successful, because those who came before us, when they were climbing, they were lifting us. And so as we are climbing, we're also lifting you. So I hope that goes out to everybody.
Yeah, thank you. I actually like the kind of this particular answer. Thank you very much. There is a question from Louis Ifwa Ochewa Damte. Actually,
Okay.
she didn't know that you are an entertainment prefect, and I'm sure she's wondering how NTP is now an immunologist. So Ifwa is asking, have you had any experience where people didn't take you serious because they thought you were playful?
Yeah. I think so. I have an undercut, which you can't see under this, but I have a huge undercut, and my hair is blonde. And so whenever I walk into a room, whether I have it in curls or I have it straightened up, people assume I'm not the scientist. And then I love watching their faces as I set up my slides, and I'm like, hello, let me read you what I'm about to do. So they're having experiences like that, but that's why I think those of us trying to change the notion of what a scientist looks like, I think it's huge, because this mold of what a scientist should look like is, pardon the French, bullshit. Scientists they come in so many forms. I'm not less of a scientist just because I put on makeup. I'm not less of a scientist just because I care about how I look. I'm not less of a scientist because I intentionally take time off to take care of myself. If they can't take you seriously, it's them. I need people to understand this. A lot of times we internalize people's negative thoughts about ourselves, and it's not us. It's really them. And so you bring your authentic self to the table. If you're interested in wearing loud jewelry, bring it to the table, because it doesn't matter. You're doing your best work. Who cares what you're wearing? Who cares how playful you are? If you're able to get the work done and you still maintain how playful you are, do you know how much of a superhero you are? Come on, let's not play around. Does that answer the question?
Thank you very much, Doc. Thank you. Guys, gradually we are getting close. So if you have your question, do well to share with us. If you're here on Zoom, just give me a wave and I'll allow you to ask. If you're on Facebook, just be interactive with us. Drop your question in the comment box and I will read it. Okay, so now my next question wants to look at the dynamism in technology and learning opportunities. Now, COVID has taught us. So for our young people that are out there, we are curious to know, how do we stay relevant? Or more importantly, how do we take advantage of these resources, to advance our career?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm a big proponent of slowing down when things are getting overwhelming, because you feel like there's this pressure to be doing this course and doing this course and doing this course. And then you end up accumulating a whole bunch of courses that are not a symphony. And then you have just noise, right? And so now that we've all slowed down, have a seat, take a piece of paper, write down where you want to be in the next 5 years. Put a leeway though, because I am a big believer in flexibility. I did not plan to be a translational science liaison. I didn't. But put it down. Say, I want to be able to earn X amount of money, or I want to be able to know this, and then be intentional about the choices of where you're taking these courses and where you're taking them. Because sometimes the name of the program is enough to get you somewhere. If you're just taking all these little courses somewhere, somebody's going to look at it and be like, how does this come together to make a beautiful song? So you want to be very intentional. You want to plan it out as much as you can. And as we've slowed down, I know people want to be as productive as possible, but give yourself a lot of grace. This is, I mean, I'm a certain age, and I haven't seen this before. I haven't seen this before. And so we're all learning. This is uncharted waters for all of us. So give yourself grace. If you're hearing people are getting the certification, it's okay. It's not a race. It's not a race at all. We all have our different paths. Why do you want to run someone else's race for them? No, it's your race. Take your time. Be very intentional about what you're doing. And if you want to take a certification course, go for it. If you're taking it just because you think it's going to pad your resume, or because somebody is doing it and so you also want to be, no. Do it because you think, not because you think, it's going to make you a better person. But don't do it so much to the extent that you're dried out and tired and burnt out at the end. Because what's the point if you can't use all of this, right? So plan it out. It's not a competition. I was told when I was younger that you're in competition with nobody but yourself. Tell that to yourself every single time. If you look in the mirror, that's the person you're in competition with. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I have another question from on Facebook. He says, you've really touched on relevant points, and I would like to know how students from Ghana will stay relevant or evolve prior to the rapid changes in technology, looking at our education system. I know it's been a while since you schooled in Ghana. Yeah. So I'm sure he's trying to put his question into context, like considering the limited challenges students in Ghana face, how do we cope with our colleagues from other countries? Yeah.
Yeah, it's really hard because it's not a handicap per se, but you're coming in not having been exposed to a lot of things that some of these students have been already exposed to. And so that's why after Gehe, I intentionally chose a school that was small for college, because I knew that if the school was too big, I would get lost. And if I got lost, I would drop through the cracks and not be successful. And so I chose Vassar College in Poughkeepsie because it's a very small school. It's quite, they have resources that I can take advantage of. And of course, there were moments where I was just like, oh my God, this is too much for me. But a lot of these teachers, professors, a lot of these schools have resources that you can tap into. And of course, the first year or the first couple of years would be a little rough, but you have to be ready for that. But you shouldn't give up. If you've gone to boarding school in Ghana, you definitely know you shouldn't give up. You have a lot of grit, more than you think. And also, don't be shy to ask for help. You can't do it all. And it's okay. It's not weakness. Weakness is thinking you can do it all and then falling flat on your face because you messed up. So you're definitely going to come in, disadvantaged, but you're in a prime position to utilize all the abundance of resources that most of these universities and colleges have. So use that and ask for help. Always ask for help. Like for me, when I came to the US, I thought I could write. But I found out I couldn't write. And so I took the freshman writing course and it whooped my butt. But I feel better about writing now, So just ask for help and know that the first couple of months will be rough, but utilize the resources available and ask for help always.
Thank you, Danielle. I've actually learned a lot of things. I've learned and I'm still learning. And for me, I think I'm taking 3 conversation that we have to be intentional about everything that we are doing.
Yeah.
To slow down,
Yes.
assess ourselves better before we spring up again.
Yeah.
More importantly, we shouldn't be shy to ask. For people that, I think, let's say Ghanaians in general, we are quite shy, much more reserved to ourselves. So
I
I
don't know
think they.
about shy. I say we're proud.
Okay, thank you.
Can you blame us though? We come from the most awesome country in the world, so of course.
I think.
We're just like, yeah, we're cool.
So, thank you very much. But I would want to take the last question from you. That is, if you have any advice for young ladies, men who are watching or listening to us, anything for them. Yeah.
I would like to advise you to always listen to yourself first, before anything else, before allowing other people's opinions to influence where you think you're supposed to go. And there isn't a path that you must follow. That's a fallacy. It's not true. There are many paths, and you have your entire life to try all these different paths. And to me, the experience that is terrible, like if you never experience something, how would you be able to know that you hate it? So try everything if you can, well, apart from drugs. But try everything that you think is interesting to you, because if you have passion for something, it comes out in the quality of the work you do. And always take care of yourself first, because if you don't, you can't create from something that is not healthy, right? So take care of yourself. There is no path. Make your own path, really. And just don't let people's opinions influence you. They don't pay your rent and they don't bathe you. Don't listen to them.
Thank you, Dr. Danielle Twum. Hello, everyone. I hope you've enjoyed listening and watching us. So just to conclude, if you haven't liked our page, kindly do so on Facebook, LinkedIn, or on YouTube for more of such interactive discussions. So for us at TeenLed, we have 3 main goals. Like the first is to inspire and enlighten young generations for them to explore the path of those who have already led the way, and also provide mentorship, coaching for young adults. And lastly, we are looking at empowering young ones to make positive strides in achieving their dreams. So thank you for joining us, and we look forward to having you another time. If you are here with us on Zoom, just stay on funding from our maybe few minutes with our host. And if you're on Facebook, unfortunately, that is bye for you. So catch you guys next week. Bye.